Hi there, Joyce at Delightful Quilting and Sewing, a knitting dealer in Avon, New York. Thought I'd try something a little bit different today, so I got my camera, my phone mounted on a tripod, and I will try and shoot the video that way with me in it and see how it works. It may not work for everything, but with this maybe. Today I wanted to talk about zippers, and one of the things that I always tell my classes when I teach them is that, especially if you're quilting pantographs, there's no way in the world you can get that pantograph nice and straight across the quilt unless you load it correctly so that your quilt top is loaded parallel to your rollers. Well, loading starts actually with the backing, and it's important to get the backing on as well, nice and straight, so that you don't have scoops on the sides and some issues like that can cause you problems on down the line. So today I'm doing this zipper thing because I sold a frame in a machine, and the customer wanted zippers on the leaders, and the leaders only had a casing on it. So I'm getting those leaders ready to go with that frame, and I thought I'd just show you, really it's not that hard to add zippers to an existing frame. The one thing that you do need, though, is you do need to have a casing on your leaders. And I know for some time the leaders went out without a casing on them. It's not hard to do that. Just fold it under and stitch it so that you have a casing and you've got a folded edge that you're going to be stitching that zipper onto. So the zipper, the frame set, the zippers that go on the frame come as 3 complete zipper sets. And they're sold in a package that costs about $60 from Knitting, $59.99, and it's the Quick Zip system. And this is a 12-foot frame, so this is a 126-inch long zipper set that goes onto this frame. Comes in a little bag. There's a little book with instructions, and the zippers come kind of zipped together. And you don't have to fuss around trying to figure out what ones you use because they're very well labeled. For example, this particular one says on it, this half of the zipper, it says pin to the top fabric, bottom left side. And then this one, this half of the zipper says sew to the, you're going to sew this to the roller that the top left, the bottom left side of the top is going to be sewn to, or zipped to. This other set, which is each half of the set I'm sewing on, the two pieces that you're going to put on for your backing rollers are actually come in the package zipped together, and they both say sew on them. While the extra ones that I have here, which will be the other half of the ones that are sewn on, says pin to the backing fabric, bottom left side, and pin to the backing fabric, top left side. So the zippers are labeled very well so that you don't get confused on how to use them. So what I've done so far, and they also come, the ones that you're going to be sewing onto your leaders actually come with a center mark. I mean, you probably can't see it here, but there's a center mark on the zipper, and all I did was align that with the center mark that's on the canvas. So if you're thinking of buying a frame, order it already with zippers on it. They charge something for doing it for you, but they sew the zippers onto the leaders before they're actually installed onto the rollers. But it's not impossible to sew them when it's on the frame itself. So I started by pinning the center point on my zipper to the center point on the leader, and I've pinned all the way from the center out. I started in the center, and I pinned from the center out in both directions. It's sort of like doing some of the other things that we do in long-arm quilting, where we start in the center and we go out, like when we're pinning our batting, or when we're pinning our backing onto our rollers or onto the zippers. I always start in the center, the center point, and I pin outward in both directions. So I pinned this outward in both directions, and I'm actually ready to sew this. Now I left the zipper intact here, so it's both parts of the zipper. When I get this zipper sewn on here, I will unzip the one part and stitch it onto the take-up roller using the same technique. I will start pinning in the center, aligning it with a center point on the take-up roller, pinning it out in both directions and stitching it on with a machine. So stitching it on, basically, you're just going to bring it up and put it onto the canvas side. And I left a tiny little space between the edge of the canvas and the zipper itself. So there's just a little space in there so that there's room enough for the zipper pull to go up through and not bind up on anything. And one of the things that I noticed on my other frame that I ordered with zippers on the canvases is that there's 2 rows of stitching. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. I'm going to stitch it once with the edge of my hopping foot right here, right along the edge of the canvas here. So there's a little space between the stitching and the zipper itself. So I'll be about 1/4 of an inch away. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it over and put another row of stitches just to catch the back of that tape, and so it's laid flat. And so there'll be 2 rows of stitching relatively close to each other to stitch that on. So there's a couple of thoughts on stitching this. One of them that I have done before when installing zippers on the frame is to start in the center and stitch out in both directions. I'm not sure whether I will do that on this one or whether I'll just start at the one end and go to the other. But whatever I do, I will do on both rollers. I will do it the same on both rollers. If I start in the center and stitch out, I will do that on the belly bar roller and the take-up roller. If I start at one end and stitch it all the way to the other end, I will do the same on the other roller as well, so that the zipper tapes will have that same kind of alignment when they're complete. So that's basically all there is. One of the things that I thought would help is that I would put my channel lock down to kind of keep my machine, and I have my front roller locked in so that I can keep that. And by putting the channel lock down, I should be able to stitch all the way from one end to the other, or from the center out in both directions without any problem at all. So I thought I would just share that with you. If you had thought at some point that you wished you had zippers, it's not impossible to put them on. You can do it without a lot of trouble. And one other thing, just a comment, someone online the other day was wondering about zippers versus leader grips. And my feeling on this is your zippers are always going to be a lot more accurate in loading your backing, especially if you have taken the time to square up both the top and the bottom of your backing so that you know that that's square, and you have a nice square rectangular piece of fabric that you're going to be putting on your frame. If you pin it onto your zippers or you pin it directly onto your leaders, that will always go on more straight or square, more square than if you're using the leader grips or the red snappers, because it's very hard to control the amount of fabric that folds over that rod on your leader grips as you're clamping that on. So it's kind of a toss-up. I have used leader grips on my show frames for years. I have a set of leader grips on my big frame. It's actually in a zipper so that I can zip that off. I just completed a quilt for a customer that I used zippers on because I wanted everything to be extremely accurate with that. And that was the only way that I knew that that would happen. So it's kind of up to you what you choose to do, zippers, leader grips, or just pinning to the frame. In our book, Guide to Quilting with Your Knolting, on page 30, starts on page 34. I have a whole section on loading your quilt and how do you load your backing if you are pinning, how you load it if you're pinning to zippers, because it's a little bit different, or if you're using leader grips. So there's instructions on any of those 3 methods in our book. Guide to Quilting with Your Knolting, which is available on our website, www.delightful-qs.com. So that's it for today's Tech Tuesday. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, or if you have any ideas for future Tech Tuesday videos, just shoot me an email. I'd love to see what they are and happy to do them. So have a great day.